Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Adapt and Thrive. I am super excited to have Tim Storey with us today. Tim Storey is an acclaimed author, speaker, and life coach, known for inspiring and motivating people of all walks of life. Tim is referred to as the comeback coach. He has the unique gift of helping people rise above their setbacks and live with a miracle mentality despite life's disruptions, interruptions, and challenges. Many stars like Oprah Winfrey, Robert Downey Jr., and Quincy Jones have come to appreciate Tim's inspiring messages. I invited Tim to our show today because he has powerful messages and perspectives to share with us all, especially during these challenging and changing times. Tim, a huge welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
Good to be with you. So I really love this title that we need to adapt, and it would be good if we thrived, right? And so how did you end up coming up with this? I find that interesting.
For me, whenever there is a challenge, and I find that we're like a chameleon, we have to change color, and then we have to continue to not just survive, but continue to evolve. So for me, that's how I thought about it.
Yeah, because I think that in my work of life coaching and working with people, I think that is one of the things that people have a challenge with is adapting to new situations, new seasons, new scenarios in their life. And then they spend so much time of trying to adapt that they forget that they could also thrive at the same time. You can do both.
Yes, absolutely. So on that note, inflation, recession, rising interest rates, assets rebalancing are the themes these days, not just here in Canada, Tim, but in many areas of the world. We're observing that many individuals and businesses are experiencing increased financial pressure, setbacks, and anxiety. So how do you see life's challenges and setbacks, and what are some of the strategies you suggest that we adapt to effectively deal with these challenges?
Yeah, I think that like never before, things are amplified. So if you look at challenges even in the 60s, where you had, the Vietnam War, and you had a lot of protests, you had a lot of challenges with racial disharmony. You had challenging things that happened to great leaders, even like Martin Luther King. So in the midst of all that, we did not have the amplification that we have now of social media. So everything is now bigger, right?
Right.
And you turn on your phone and you see something, and everywhere you move, you hear and you see something, where before you might have to take the time and watch the news or take the time and read the paper. Now it's just coming at you through what we call feeds, etc. So what I like to do is find ways to simplify one's life. And that is to think about your own mindset. Like where is your mindset? And your mindset is yours to set. So whether it's the 30s of the Great Depression, it's the 40s of World War II, or the 60s that I just described, or 2022, so much of it is right here in the mindset.
Love that. Your mindset is yours to set.
Yes. And so no matter what era, what decade, no matter what turmoil you're facing, so much is right here.
So are you suggesting that we accept what's happening and it's our choice to decide how we see it and how we go about it? Is that what you mean when you say your mindset is yours to set?
Yeah, I think number one, it's really not about accepting it, because I think that there's a lot of things that are taking place that are just wrong. You're seeing a lot of uprise in Iran over what's taking place there with some of the challenges. You see what's going on in Ukraine, obviously, and even with Russian people who are not agreeing with the government. So there's a lot of unrest and drama and trauma going on. So it's not so much that we say, okay, I'm okay with that. But the thing is that there's certain things, as you know, that you cannot control. I cannot control some of the things that are taking place in the world. Could be crime, could be abuse. I cannot control it all, but I can control my mindset. And I can also control my reactions to other people's actions. And once you start to understand that, I tell you, it gives you more security in your life. So it's not that we're just being pushed around. We can find ways to stay steady in unsteady times.
Got it. You have personally experienced some major life interruptions, including losing your father and sister at a young age and a divorce. Yet, Tim, you are so positive, you're full of hope, and you're full of drive. How do you do that?
I think that with these things that you mentioned, so they're years apart. So at 10, my father goes to go get my mother food. He goes to a green light. So he's just minding his own business, going to get food at a nice restaurant. Calls, gets the food, and he's going to a green light, and a man runs a red light and hits him. And my father is now taken, but he's taken from his wife, who he was in love with, my mother, and his 5 children. And this is a man that was a hard worker, worked at a place called Bethlehem Steel. There was a real backstory to him because he felt like he was starting to really scale his life in a better way, taking us from very tough neighborhoods and small apartments. And now we had moved into a nicer house and a nicer neighborhood. So he was proud of himself when his life was taken. And then 2 years later, my sister was on vacation with her friends. It was 2 sisters, and my sister was in the back seat. And the girls that were related to each other were in the front seat. And they thought that there was an off-ramp in San Francisco, and there wasn't. There was fog. And they got into this accident, and the other 2 were just slightly injured. My sister hit her head, went into a coma for 8 days, and passed. So those are 2 different scenarios, and they required me to face both of those with similar tools, but at different times in my life. So at 10, this was like such a shock. At 12, it's terrible to say, but now I was more equipped to handle the pain and the shock because I'd already faced my father's passing. So it's an interesting thing about life on how one thing can strengthen you for the potential and possibilities of other things taking place.
What I find fascinating is that not only you adapted, but you're thriving, and maybe that took time. So what can you share with us in terms of the tools that were profound to you to transition from that stage to where you are today?
Yeah, so that's why I like your title of this, to adapt, because sometimes one has to adapt to their surroundings. They have to adapt to what is taking place in the society. In this case, I had to adapt of the change of the tone that was in our house. So prior to my father passing, there was a lot more good energy, a lot of good energy, because I have 3 older sisters and an older brother. And so the energy was high. He passes. And in my book, The Miracle Mentality, I say that all of a sudden my house felt like a cold garage. And so I had to adapt to the cold garage feeling of the sorrow, of the grief, because you don't just play music for that to go be taken away. And really, it's really just not the right thing to do at that point of just like playing happy music, because people were in mourning. So I think this idea of adapting is sometimes you're in a survival mode, but then you have to then rely on principles, and principles like, hopefully this too shall pass, and maybe principles of faith and principles on belief and principles of God's hands protecting me. And so as a young person, going to church, starting at age 4, I relied, it's not always for everybody else, but I relied a lot on my faith.
Okay. Your book, The Miracle Mentality, what inspired you to write it, and what are the key messages that you want to share with us?
The Miracle Mentality comes a lot out of conversations. When I would go and speak to elementary students literally all over the world, whether it be inner cities of LA, inner cities of Miami, Soweto, South Africa, Manila, the Philippines, because I always ask if I could go speak at the schools or to orphanages when I go do these big conferences. I noticed that when I said to little kids, what do you want to become in life? When they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years of age, it was always something that was grand. It was something that was beyond. It was something that was amazing. So they would say things like a professional basketball player or a movie star, or one little girl in South Africa, found out later she was only 5. She says, the Queen.
Amazing.
So to me, the miracle mentality starts in most people with innocence, the innocence of I can become. There's a song by a group called the Black Eyed Peas, a group founded by a man named will.i.am, who's always been nice to me. And Fergie's in the group. I've known Fergie since she was a little girl. And in this song, they say, I'm a bee. And then it goes, I'm a bee, I'm a bee, I'm a bee. And the whole idea is little kids saying like, I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna be powerful, I'm gonna be great. So that's where the Miracle Mentality book came from, is conversations with little kids and them wanting to be and have a miracle mentality. And then to say, hey, what happened to our miracle mentality? And then I get into the chapters, as you know, how we get caught in the mundane, we get caught in the messy, we get caught in the madness, and sometimes we have just covered up this idea of miracles.
Yes, and I read your book, and you talk about how we can get back to that magical state despite the demands, the daily demands of our lives. And I love that message. So
Yes.
Fantastic. Tim, you're everywhere. Honestly, like you're everywhere. You're speaking, you're writing, you're coaching, you're doing humanitarian work, you're participating in life-changing documentaries like Anxious Nation. Your messages are in every airport, and you are here today with everything you have on your plate. You're here today. What's your secret weapon for how you manage your time?
Well, I'm here today because you're important. And
thank you so much.
That
means a lot.
You're a person that my vice president and I are very fond of, because you're a thinker, you're a caring person, you're an example, not just to your own heritage, not just to women, but to people. And so I like I like to connect with people that are world shakers. And to me, a world shaker is someone who makes impact. And so you are an impactful human being. So it's a privilege. I think about these ideas of, I was looking at my schedule, and I've been working on a project with this amazing director. He did a movie called Concussion with Will Smith, which was a great movie. And we've been working on another idea with Will Smith and this particular director about me meeting with him this week. And then I was meeting with another director who's quite famous, and I won't say his name, but he's very famous. And I was trying to find time to meet with him this week as well. And then I have a meeting in 2 days with the gaming community, where I signed with this big gaming, as in video games, community, where I have come on staff and also ownership of one of the largest gaming communities in the world. And it's funny that you say this, because as I was overlooking all these emails and these demands of my time, I just smiled. And I thought, I guess little Timmy has grown up. So for those who know me closely, know that I'm very animated still, very much enjoy the moment, try to find pleasure even in the midst of my pain. And I want to do my assignment and my portion in life, but I also enjoy myself at the same time.
Beautiful. Do you have a technique on how you manage your time, or do you lean on the people around you to help you manage your time?
I would say I have found my own principles and techniques and disciplines to manage my time. I go to sleep earlier than most artists. A lot of my buddies that are artists don't go to sleep until after midnight, 1 o'clock, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I go to bed about 11, but I wake up at 5. And my discipline is this: I'm a clean freak, just so you know. So I take a shower, even if I'm about to go to the gym. I take a shower. I just like that feeling of feeling clean and awake. And then I do an hour devotion of something, whether it be like a spiritual devotion, in my case, reading the Bible, or also I like TED Talks. Watch what I do here. I like podcasts. I like to watch documentaries. I do this 5 out of 7 days. I don't do it on Saturday and Sunday. Monday through Friday, I study and do some form of a devotional that's going to build my faith and starve my doubts right off the get-go. And then 4 to 5 days a week, I exercise. But I've been doing that since I was very, very young. It just helps my mindset, helps me to stay mobile, and it's very, very good. So I don't get into social media early. I like what Jay Shetty says. He says, if you woke up, it's doubtful that when you first wake up, you would say, hey, I would like a lot of people to just track through my bedroom and give me your opinion. And Jay, if you watch this, that is so brilliant. I wish I had come up with that.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's so brilliant. Nobody would wake up and just say, hey, a lot of people, one of you dance, one of you say something that's controversial, just march through my bedroom. But we do that by looking at reels and posts and TikToks, but I don't. I really guard my thoughts and my mindset. And so I will say to you, 9 out of 10 times, my mindset is very equipped to handle anything on that day, even if that thing is very difficult.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I was actually about to ask you, what are some of your daily rituals and routines? And thank you for sharing that with us. My last question is about success philosophy. I heard you talk about working your land as a success philosophy. Tell us more about that. What do you mean by this?
The idea of working your land came many, many years ago. And the idea is, I noticed that a lot of people talked about the manifestation of a goal or a plan or a dream. And they just thought about this thing manifesting and how it would look like, what it would feel like, what it would do for their life. But then I began to talk to different people who are in the farming business. And I remember I was in Sweden and I was talking to this older gentleman who was a farmer. Then another time I was in Middle America and I was talking to a farmer. Then another time I was in a part of Texas and I was talking to this farmer. And so I said, you know, there's a lot of things in farming. I mean, you could break it down to like 30 things that must take place to get a proper harvest. That's a clean harvest and a good harvest. But I said, let's break it down to 4. You have to plow the ground. There's always has to be the tilling. You have to plant the right seed, right? So whatever you are desiring to manifest, you have to plant that seed. So you plow the ground, you plant the seed, but then you have to water. You have to water it. You have to nourish it, right?
Yep.
And then you get the harvest. But you don't get the harvest unless you plow, you plant, you water, then you harvest. And I think that this is the strength of Tim Storey, is that every day I am plowing the ground. So I'm working on new projects. I'm working on a Broadway play. That's plowing the ground. I'm working more on languages because I can speak part of some languages. I want to speak more of 2 different languages that I'm working on. But that's a lot of hard work for me. So I'm plowing, planting, watering. And then the harvest started coming. And the harvest was all these amazing projects that people see happening in my life now, but really behind the scenes, there was a lot of plowing, planting, and watering.
Love that, because often, or it's common for people to see the end result and think that it was luck or it happened overnight or that person talked to the right person, but it's all of that, plowing that you refer to, planting the seeds and watering and rinse and repeat and do it and keep doing it. That's what brings up the tree and the fruits at the end of the day. So I love that success philosophy. It talks about consistency, it talks about hard work, it talks about what goes behind the scene, beneath that iceberg or tree that people just see on the surface. Yeah,
and if you don't mind me saying this, that also with that just comes like favor of people, individuals, seeing someone like the way I see you and my staff sees you. That's just something where I see you and I go like, wow, she's going to do amazing things. And so I was fortunate to have some people that I look up to look at me and say, wow, they're going to do amazing things, like Oprah Winfrey, saying, I just want to open up so many doors, or Quincy Jones or Leah Coca endorsing 2 of my books. I mean, these are things I didn't see coming, but they were things that ended up happening to me that made my harvest a bigger harvest than I thought it was going to be.
Amazing. Tim, I can sit here and talk to you forever. I know that, when we talk in our sessions for 2 hours, I look at my watch and it feels like 5 minutes have passed. Honestly, I so appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much for everything that you shared with us. And folks, I have been following Tim for quite some time now, and I can tell you that every time I hear Tim speak, I learn something insightful. I get clarity, inspiration, and hope. Don't take it from me. follow Tim to experience this yourself. Just experience it yourself. So Tim, where can we find you?
Best way to find me is just timstorey.com. So that's TIMSTOREY.com. That's our website. It'll lead you to our Facebook, our Twitter, and our Instagram.
Excellent. Thanks again. Have a fabulous day.